Say go beat up Jeff.
No. Well, that's inciting, right? But even without inciting violence, I could see where somebody, a platform might want to prohibit something like that. Also, just something that might be the equivalent of heckling or over posting. If somebody posts 500 comments, over and over again, just saying something stupid, stuff like that. I could say that's not necessarily illegal, but I wouldn't object to it being moderated in that fashion. You see what I'm getting at, Ramona?
Me moderated, like you can post something 50 times, but no more than that.
Or whatever. Yeah, that's what I mean. In other words, it's about...
So would that cover people who troll certain sites and post over, like I'm on a lot of medical sites, and there are people who post the same, just cut and paste about Rick Simpson oil or they're
well, I don't think you can stop people from doing that completely, but what I'm talking about is if somebody were to do it like many times in the same thread, that
some people do that.
Yeah.
Well, but Jeff, that comes under a we, in Scott Ritter's Telegram channel, right? We have this thing where people start just putting one silly picture up after the other, and they'll, we stop them. We just stop their ability to post.
All right. All I'm doing is giving you examples of something that is not illegal, but I could see where it might be a good idea to prohibit it. But the same
that's
thing
not
with
a
giving
content
away,
fact.
The
that's
same
not
thing
a
with
content
giving away
check.
where somebody lives, might be prohibited. Now, in your case, Ramona, maybe you would like to be visited by people because you're lonely, miserable, and desperate, as I am. I'm just kidding. But it could be a security risk for some people, like Elon Musk.
Well, I agree with. I agree that one shouldn't be allowed to give away one's private information, address, and such. But at the same time, other things can become a slippery slope. You know what I'm saying, Jeff?
It could be, and I'm glad that you're concerned about it. But I don't think that Twitter has gone down a slippery slope. I think there's very few things they're prohibiting.
But see, what you're both getting at are things that are not even related to protected speech or not. You're talking about a behavior that has nothing to do with the content at all. And
yes, the term I use is viewpoint discrimination. This is not stopping an opinion, a point of view. Okay, it's stopping harassment. It's the equivalent of if you're in a nightclub performing and somebody's heckling you. Okay, it's not like their opinion. They're just disturbing you.
Yeah, their opinion is immaterial at that point.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway,
sometimes those people will be extracted from the theater, and they'll be removed.
Yeah, and that might be breaking the law there anyway. So maybe my analogy isn't completely clean, but that's the sort of thing that comes to my mind. All right. Well, we have Jose Vega waiting. I don't want to keep him waiting too long.
Yep.
Ramona, it's always a pleasure to reconnect with you. And Ramona was a guest on our previous podcast, Scenes from the Evolution. And let's look for an excuse to have you back when we have plenty of time to relax, kick back, and have you on camera the next time too.
Sounds good.
All right, Ramona, nice to meet you.
You too, Ryan.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ramona. Take care.
Take care.
Sure. Bye-bye.
All right. Let's bring in Jose Vega. Sorry to keep you waiting, Jose. Sometimes that's just how it goes. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
That's good. Jose's very loud. Let me see if I can fix that.
You've got that good microphone, and go ahead and say a few more things there.
Just
how you doing
stay where
there,
you're
Jose?
comfortable. I'll
just saying a few more things.
You don't have to move it. I'll adjust the volume. Just keep it where it was.
Okay.
Keep it real, Jose.
I'm keeping it completely real.
All right. Hi. So Jose was in Washington, D.C.
Yesterday?
Was it yesterday?
It was yesterday, yeah.
All right. And you were attempting to amplify the message of Doctors Against Genocide. And it's pretty clear that the doctors are against genocide. What's not so clear is, are you against genocide?
I'd like to think I am.
What a controversial position.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually,
So
hold on. I
what's
have to do one thing with my audio setting. Hold on. Give me
Uh-oh.
1 second here. Just
I'm
gonna.
trying to get Jose to act like a professional podcaster. The struggle goes on.
Okay.
Still treating it like a Zoom meeting with his
No,
relatives.
we're good now.
All
All
right.
right. All right. So talk
All right.
about the Doctors Against Genocide and your involvement.
Yeah. So, first of all, how does this relate to the work that we started with my segment? One thing that I want to really make clear to people is that there is always stuff going on with organizations happening all the time. So, for example, if you want to be a part of a lobbying tour, if you want to go to Washington, there are already organizations out there like Code Pink that are already doing this on the Hill. So, for example, you can look at their website, you can follow their social media. They are always lobbying. So, if you want to just go to Washington and learn what it's like, you can hook up with Code Pink or with our campaign. If we're doing something in Washington, we'll be happy to let you know about it. But now, so sorry.
How often are you in Washington yourself?
Honestly, recently it's been pretty often. I don't, it's just
Maybe we should call the segment "Mr. Vega Goes to Washington."
well,
I like that.
well, because it's not always about going to Washington. Sometimes I might do stuff here in New York, like we're planning on
No,
doing.
Washington is like Hollywood. It's not only a geographical location; it's a state of mind.
This is not my man cave. This is our campaign office. And in order to meet the requirements of not looking like a Zoom meeting, but a professional podcaster, I had to reorient my camera this way. So now you can see the office behind me.
All right. We also have to do something about your microphone. Not your fault, but the slightest touch on your desk or your stand is making whatever you're moving around is making noise.
We hear
Okay.
everything.
I'm not going to touch it anymore. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep my hands away from my desk.
All right.
Keep your hands above the desk.
Anyway,
So going back.
Keeping it relevant, basically, the Doctors Against Genocide is an organization that was founded in 2024 as a way to combat the genocide happening in Gaza. And, I happen to be in touch with a lot of doctors that actually went to Gaza in the middle of it. One of those people is Dr. Mark Perlmutter, somebody that I can be proud to call a friend of mine, and somebody that I facilitated a place to have his lecture or his presentation when he was supposed to speak at Mount Sinai here in New York. So Mount Sinai has a very big history of being called the Jews' hospital back in the 1850s. It was the only place where Jewish people at the time could go and get medical treatment. Now, he was supposed to give a presentation on what he actually saw in Gaza. And what was so powerful about his presentation is that he has photos, he has videos of what he saw, and he stresses the fact that there were no enemy combatants at these hospitals. And what happened on November 1st was that he got told the day before he was supposed to fly in that they were going to cancel his talk at Mount Sinai Hospital. I mean, this was huge. The very fact that they even approved it to begin with was big news, but the fact that they canceled it was even bigger news. But we were able to quickly find him an alternate venue in the same area. All right, so fast forward to now. The doctors have been trying to be heard by anybody, really. They don't care whether they're Democrats or Republicans. They just want to be heard by their government. And so the doctors decided to put together a team of people. This was anybody could join because they want to have a display of force where they set up meetings ahead of time at the Hill, on Capitol Hill. And the idea was that anybody can come and join us in these meetings that they had set beforehand. Now, some very good things happened at these meetings, and some commitments were made that I can't say on a public live stream because I don't want to jeopardize what was promised and what was said and with who or whom. And I hope people can understand that. But I hope that also incentivizes people to want to join us in future trips to Washington. I understand that they're doing another big one.
Well, can you tell us who you met with? Not necessarily what was said. You can't even say who you met with.
No.
All right. Well, we have photos that you provided, so obviously you have no objection to that. Who do we see here?
What's going on here?
So here, this was in the Senate side at Capitol Hill where they did an impromptu press conference. There's nobody there that's like official or legit or anything like that in terms of, legislative officials. Of course, that's why I okayed the picture. But this is Dr. Jabor, who's the man on the right, kind of smiling, shaking hands with some supporters there. They were hosting like an impromptu press conference at noon, and they almost got arrested. By the way, the Capitol Police were like, "Hey, like you don't have a permit for this. This wasn't allowed. Like you need to wrap this up." And Dr. Jabor just kept going and going and going and talking about it. And they brought
What were they what can you I'm sorry, you might have just said it, but I missed it. What exactly were they doing that might require a permit?
A press conference, kind of. They were gathered in the hall. There were about 30 to 40 people. Oh no, 50 people were in that hall. This was after that they had all dispersed and they were just kind of talking.
Well, you do this more. I was going to say more often than I do. I never do it, but it seems to me there's a thin line between just talking in the hallway or doing talking to one reporter and doing a press conference. What is it that would require a permit? I mean, how do they cross that line into that territory?
Well, that's the rub. It's like, should they not be allowed to go into the Senate building and just talk about what the legislators themselves are perpetuating? At what point is it an exercise of free speech to, hey, get the heck out of here. You're disrupting what's going on. Nobody was being disrupted. There was no amplification whatsoever. It was just a crowd of people gathered around in a circle, listening to each other. And I believe they were being harassed by Capitol Police.
The Supreme Court has repeatedly ruled that the government can impose reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions. And you just named one of them. There could be a restriction on amplification, for example. But it's about something that would apply to everybody, not unique to any particular speaker, not unique to any particular point of view. So,
hold on a second. Also, Jose, you said it was a press conference. So was there media there as well?
There was media, kind of. I mean, there was. I mean, I sent you a headline there. I think Al Jazeera was present as well as that news outlet that I sent you. There was.
Well, there may be. I would agree. Now, I don't know what the rules are. I would give the Capitol Police or whomever the opportunity to say what rule they might have been violating, but there could be a rule about the number of people that can assemble in one place. That would not be unreasonable if they impose it equally against everybody.
Well, why? Like,
well,
what?
No, okay,
because of reasonable time, place, and manner.
I don't know what makes the difference between 14 people. If 15 is the line, why is 14 okay? But 15 is like way too much.
Well, that's what could be argued, but that is the sort of restriction that exists in life. If you want to get a permit to do a concert or some kind of event in a public park, these are the kind of restrictions that exist.
For example, you go into a restaurant and you say it says maximum 200 people seating limit, and it is like a fire safety question, for example.
This was not a fire safety question. That place is huge. I couldn't even hear them. I had to look, and when I saw someone wearing a keffiyeh, I said, "Oh, okay, I know I'm in the right place." And 50 people there look like
you're probably right. I'm just saying I'd be interested to hear if they claim there was any rule violated.
Well, of course. Well, think about the hypocrisy of it, though, because you see in that photo, that was one angle, but the 50 people still lingered around. Nobody was saying, "Hey, you all have to disperse."
Right. Well, if I were there, I would have said to them, "Could you please identify what rule you're enforcing or what law?" and see what they said. Did anybody say that to them?
Well, you weren't there, Jeff. That's the reason you should be there.
All right. So here's another photo that you provided. This looks like you were in the office of an elected representative. Am I right?
That may be the case, yes, and that's all I'll say on that.
You don't have to say who it was. Come on.
Well, you see their challenge coins. You've got
that's me probably eating a mint or something. That's the great thing about lobbying is that you will visit congressional offices, and they will often have snacks there. And this particular representative happened to have mints there.
So. How did I guess it was an elected representative's office? Who's in the photo, Jose?
All right,
besides you feeding your face.
So from left to right, you have Dennis Fritz of the Eisenhower Media Group, a retired military official. Then you have Colonel Larry Wilkerson. You'll notice that both of these people were speakers at the October 26th event.
Yes.
Then you have Dr. Jabor to the right of Colonel Larry Wilkerson and Dr. Hawash to the right of me. Both of them are co-founders of the organization Doctors Against Genocide. As to what was said in this meeting and with whom, again.
Oh, who's the woman and who's the guy whose leg we see?
No, he said already who the woman is. She's one of the co-founders of the Doctors Against Genocide. So then you have somebody there who looks like he's got some tickets or something to your left.
He is just a nameless staffer who will remain nameless. He was, this was towards the end of the meeting when we had to exchange.
All right. Let's call him Fred. How about
Fred,
that?
yeah.
Okay.
So basically, like, my point in showing this, and I hope Samantha's on the line, is that
she is. Should we bring her on now?
If you want to, just to make sure she's
Samantha of South Carolina.
Samantha of South Carolina, our superstar activist in the making. How you doing,
Doll? I'm good. I'm sorry. Is there feedback? I had it on and then I silenced it. Are we good?
No, you're good.
Flawless, okay. Sam, flawless. I wish we could say the same for Jose's audio.
So
anyway,
Samantha, when are you going to be in Washington with Jose?
When am I going to be in Washington?
Yeah,
sure.
I don't know. We could set a date.
Well, we should. It's about. I mean, it's a. I don't know. I guess a 7-hour drive from where you're from, right? But I mean, that's why. I mean, this was being advertised, I think, 2 or 3 weeks in advance that this was going to happen and that they were setting up the meetings for this to happen. And that's usually how you would want to organize any kind of delegation going into Washington. I would say it would have to happen. If you wanted to do something immediately, it would have to be under some kind of like rapid action, like, I don't know, like something desperate would have to happen. So in this case, there's a doctor named Dr. Abu Safia who has been captured by the Israelis and is probably being tortured, who is being denied legal counsel for the next 10 days and will be held in prison for at least another month and a half. And at first, his whereabouts were unknown, but it was suspected that he may have been captured by the Israelis, and they were denying it up until the point they couldn't deny it anymore. And so then they admitted that they do have him, and that's why the doctors launched this specific action.
Well, now that the Israelis admitted they have him, did they give a reason for it?
No. Well, at least not that I've seen. I mean, maybe it's possible they said some statement here or there. I don't know what the reason that they're holding him for is. And frankly, it's terrible because Dr. Abu Safia was one of the only doctors who's been in Gaza on the ground since, I think, pretty early on. And I
don't want it to seem like I'm always on the side of the bad guy. It's just that I always want to hear what the opposing argument is. And usually
I know you're always. I'm always like, why am I arguing with you?
Well, usually there is an argument, maybe a bad one, but usually there's
what's the claim?
Yeah.
What is their claim that they're
right? It's hard to fight the claim unless we know the claim.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think it's something like conspiracy, terrorism charges.
Conspiracy is always a very good thing to arrest opponents on because it's so vague.
So vague, yeah. What were you going to say, Sam?
Didn't the word conspiracy theorist come about in the protocols of the Elders of Zion? Wasn't that the first time conspiracy theorists?
No. It was the protocols of broccoli and Parmesan. I think that Jeff was talking about that earlier. I don't know where that comes from. I mean,
I'm on YouTube. I'm like going to get demonetized. I'm going to get probably stricken off it now. But you have been doing.
All right. So
go ahead.
I was thinking the earliest because I have like family, but the earliest I can go up is like February, early February. Is that too late?
The earliest you could. Oh, you mean to the Capitol would be early February?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Probably not. I mean, you should keep an eye out because there may be things happening in Washington, D.C. that would warrant a trip to the Capitol. So, for example, one criticism I had on what we did at the National Press Club was that it should have been followed up with a day of lobbying. So it's like everybody who came to the press club, it's like, all right, now we're going to go to the Capitol and we're going to have meetings. We're not going to storm the Capitol. We're going to go in and have meetings. We're going to go door to door with people. And and I would just say that, like, that might be something, Scott, I think, is doing a book tour, and he has an event here in the Bronx on the 15th of January. If people aren't aware of this, people should come to the Bronx for this and get your tickets now. scottritter.com/events. But also he has something on the 19th, I believe, in Washington, D.C. Correct. What would be great is, because that's an evening event, and the 19th. Well, what day is the 19th? Maybe I should have looked this up.
It's a Sunday, I think. It's an early evening event, by the way. I think it's 5 p.m. if I'm not mistaken.
Well, it's also a Sunday. The Congress doesn't do anything on Sundays, but I mean, if you wanted to, but if you came on the 19th and you stayed an extra day, specifically to lobby, even if you don't have meetings set up, just getting familiar with the ability to go into it's like so easy. Like it's stupid how easy it is to get into the Capitol, because like when you go into there's 3 buildings on the Congress side and 3 buildings on the Senate side. I like to hang around on the Congress side more, but because there's just more people, more opportunity there. But if you're in the Capitol side, there's 3 buildings. There's the Cannon, the Longworth, and the Rayburn building. You can walk into any of those buildings. There's metal detectors there in the beginning. The security guards are the most relaxed people you will meet. They are not like TSA. They're just like, yeah, just put your metal stuff in the bin. You walk through. That's it. They don't even ask for ID, passport, nothing. They just want to make sure you're not in there with some kind of weapon.
So that might not be the best time, because that Monday, January 20th, is Inauguration Day. So
I was gonna say, like, dude, I'm not gonna be in the Capitol on Inauguration
Yeah, no, that's
day.
not the day to be in the Capitol and going to see congressmen. Things are definitely going to change dramatically.
No. Well, plus it's a little soon for Sam. Also, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just think for people who are listening for the first time, none of us gave much of an explanation for the connection with Samantha. I just said she's a superstar activist in the making. So Jose is a very experienced activist. He's gone to Washington quite a bit. He's organized all kinds of things. And Samantha is more of a novice, and the two of them have connected because she wants to be guided by Jose. And so that's the whole reason that Jose and Sam are talking to each other.
I want to be guided by everybody. I live to serve. I want to serve a higher purpose, and I am ready to just make positive change. And I really, truly believe that the people now are going to be responsible for any future change. I think we've come to a point where the people do really need to start getting riled up and saying something, and not just saying something, but doing something. It's our turn. Like, we really have to start.
No, that's absolutely true.
Making what we want to see.
Yeah. You think about Donald Trump saying we're going to get out of these wars, and you still have, remember, you did this petition for HR 10218 to prohibit the transfer of ATACMS missiles to Ukraine. They're still getting them. And of course, a lot of people have pointed out about the fires in California, and yet still more money is going to Ukraine. So I think you're absolutely right. You've done some work with your congressman, but I think middle of February might be a very interesting time now.
Valentine's Day.
Oh, that'd be an interesting time.
I forgot about Valentine's Day. I never celebrate holidays.
I believe you're a married woman. Maybe you can bring your husband with you for a romantic trip to the nation's capital.
Yeah.
Go see Congressman Joe Wilson with your husband.
Yeah. Oh, that would be great. No, I've been, I actually posted a video of going door to door on my own road. But I didn't go to anybody's doors. I live on a dirt road, so it was kind of me talking and rambling on the dirt road. But really? That's okay, because it was showing enthusiasm and it was showing movement. So that was good.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I'm actually.
go on. No, go on.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, if you are planning on coming to the Capitol, and ahead of
Mhm.
time, there's nothing stopping you from writing and emailing and calling the offices of representatives who you want to meet with. So, for example, like, we were making specific requests from certain legislative officials. In the case of Ukraine and you want to stop the war, what I would do is, you see, this is part of the reason of why originality works so well. First, I would request a meeting, of course, with Joe Wilson's office and see if anybody will meet with you. You write to them or call them and say, look, well, actually, you can get their DC number pretty easily. You call, you say, look, my name is, Samantha. I'm down here. I'm a constituent. I'm coming to the Capitol on X day, and I want to meet with the congressman. And don't buckle down on that.
Mhm.
Okay. Only until the point where they're like, well, the congressman may or may not be in town that day. He may or may not be able to make it work. You say, okay, well, then I want to meet with the next person up. And here's the thing, people shouldn't be afraid to make demands of legislative officials. A lot of the time, what they'll say is like, well, that sounds like a good idea, but I don't know if I'll have enough support to bring it. Like, okay, so it's basically your job to recruit other Congress people to do it. So you would need to find, it depends. Whatever cause it is you want, you have to find the sympathetic Congress people who are going to back your cause up. And then you have to propose something to them that is original and that they obviously can't say no to. And, I'm just thinking about something like for Ukraine or something like, or some other issue. Oh, like take these wildfires, for example, right? If somebody from California, or you don't have to be from California, and you're saying you want to bring a bill or a policy bill that could, bring, as Trump was talking about with the melted snow water and water from the north, hey, now is a great time to probably get the talks to get that passed because it is a federal issue. And you could probably go and find sympathetic Congress people. That will sign on for this, and you can get a letter for Congress people to sign. So you would just call the offices of these congressmen that would be on the Hill, set up a meeting and say, like, here's my letter. I want you to sign this. And I will go and get 3 or 4 other Congress people to sign this if you sign this too.
So,
Okay. And so say I were to go to DC,
Yeah.
if I collect all kinds of signatures for this particular petition that I have, should I bring that with me and like put it in his office?
absolutely.
And say,
Yes.
look at all these people who agree with me.
Yes, that's exactly right. Although in that case, because that's your congressman, you might be able to meet with him in the district. The legislative schedule is public. So, for example, they're going to be in D.C. probably this entire month because it's the inauguration, committee hearings. Although people should know, the Congress has already been sworn in. That happened January 3rd, right? So the congressmen are already ready to work. The Senate's already ready to work. So, this thing about waiting till what happens on the inauguration, yes and no. There are also some last minute things that are happening that are good and bad while Biden is still president for the next 11 days. And I don't know about anybody else, but it has felt like the longest transition period of my life.
No, absolutely.
Yes.
The war's expanded, the fires, things on the economy, everything seems to be a roadblock in this transition. It's not smooth at all.
I feel like it's death by 1,000 cuts. That's how I feel.
Very well said.
Yeah.
Very well said.
Yeah, as Trump says, Biden is acting outwardly like, oh, let's be friendly, but what he's actually doing behind the scenes is quite disruptive. He's a terrible person, Biden. Terrible person.
So, Jose, let's go back real quickly here. You were there with Doctors Against Genocide. You mentioned Dr. Mark Perlmutter. Is that the name?
Yes.
Right? So, what's the next step now that you had this day? One thing, for example, you've mentioned him to us before. What about getting some of these doctors on the show here?
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's something that's an example of activism, like amplifying voices that need to be amplified. Now, here's the problem. That starts kind of like treading into like leftist, progressive, liberal territory. So I don't mean we should be, showcasing like the underrepresented voices where we need to get all the Z-Zimzers, because we have to meet a diversity quota. No, these doctors need to be heard. And actually, in fact, I read a report that because one of these doctors that was in Gaza gave a testimony at the UN, but not like a general testimony. They were just at the UN, that the Russian delegation of the UN was so moved by the testimony that they said, we want to bring this person back to testify, I believe, for the Security Council. So this was a public statement made because of the exposure that that this doctor was allowed to have.
Which was the doctor?
I'm trying to remember
it's not one of the doctors from the group. Okay.
No, not from the group. No, this was just another doctor who was in Gaza. I think this was from a couple days ago. I wish I.
That's all right. That's all right. We can get it later.
But point is, if there's somebody who needs to be heard, who, like these doctors, giving them a platform to be on where they can reach thousands of people is a great idea. Dr. Perlmutter, Dr. Feroz do interviews all the time.
Let's schedule them on the Whiners.
We should get them on the show.
We just had a doctor on, was it last week or the week before?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, and he was even drinking an adult beverage with us. So, it's not required, Jose. I don't want them to feel it's required, but if they do.
I don't drink. Not often.
Except when you do.
Except when I do. That's right. Yeah.
Not on camera.
All right, well, let's set it up.
Jose, I had a question real quick. I'm setting up a table on Monday, and I'm going to make pamphlets with this Doctors Against Genocide. That's what it's called, right? What is the most important information that I should have on those pamphlets to hand out to people so that everyone knows?
I actually, you know what? DoctorsAgainstGenocide.org. Yeah, DoctorsAgainstGenocide.org has a whole section on resources, which answer exactly questions like that and more. So if you wanted to go around getting people to sign the petition to free Dr. Abu Safia, or just to bring more awareness and get people to sign they have petitions on here that, say like, hey, we're sick and tired of genocide. Like, it's a great idea. And I would just recommend DoctorsAgainstGenocide.org.
There it is. Jeff, you beat me.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll use that. And I want to make the people around here where I am are very community focused and not broad focused, really.
That's a problem.
So this will be, it's more,
they want to make sure their garbage is picked up,
about the fact that it's even going on. Like, well, for example, when I told my father about the Attackhamsville and what was going on like a month ago when this was all up in a rage, my father said, yeah, but nuclear war against who? I'm like, I didn't even know how to respond.
Humanity.
And that is
the answer is humanity.
Most people here.
Humanity.
No, that's a fair statement. What you're saying.
No, right. It's the way people react because they feel removed from it. They don't get, like, if you hear Scott rant about it, he understands the risk, but the average person feels removed from it and they just don't think it's a risk.
In fact, that's what he said. He said he wakes up
because you're in your own bubble. Like when you're on Twitter, you are in your own bubble and you are hearing things that you agree with, or, you can follow people you don't agree with, but you're still hearing things mostly. And then you assume that everyone else is listening to the same people. They all know the same stuff. And then you go out and talk to people on the streets and you find out that they don't, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but they don't know anything about what you know.
Well, but that's
so it's more about informing people at this point.
I had heard, I guess I can say this because this is public. This was publicly live streamed. So I'm still, Bruce Fine was giving a talk about, Bruce Fine is like some lawyer, famous lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
He was giving a talk about presidents that can be impeached, and he was giving an anecdote. He says, "Oh, I have dinner with Thomas Massey all the time. Thomas Massey. But Thomas Massey, he says to me, Bruce, reading the Constitution to my constituents is like reading Shakespeare to cows." And
That's funny.
But I'm not saying that to say that that's a true statement or that that's a conclusive statement. I think that that's a lie. See, I like Thomas Massey as a congressman. The problem is that he doesn't see himself in the position of having to be an educator. Because if I were a congressman in my area, I would have that same problem where like people aren't going to understand the Constitution, especially here in my district where we are in the poorest congressional district in the country, which is also the most illiterate district in the country. But I'm not going to say, yeah, it's hopeless reading the Constitution. No, it's like as a lawmaker, as a representative, that means I also have to be an educator. And it's like I have to get my constituents to understand what's happening outside of their bubble.
Well, one thing is accepting his role, that the role that you want him to accept. The other thing is, making a judgment about the public. On the other hand, Scott and I interviewed Dennis Kucinich a few months ago, and we were trying to say, that we got to hold the public accountable to some extent, and he was like, no, not at all.
Yeah, that's what he and I differ. I mean, I don't care.
Yeah.
I have no problem with saying that it's the people who voted for Bush twice and Obama twice, okay, that put us in the mess we are in today. But maybe the difference is that I'm 26 and Dennis Kucinich is whatever old he is now.
Youngsters are always more optimistic.
And you're talking about those people that vote in this very divided, very specific tribal kind of way. And then there's all the other people who don't even vote.
I had a nice interaction.
Do you buy what I said, Jose, that there's a difference between like what he should be trying to do and making a judgment about whether or not it's doable?
Well, you have to be like a loving father. If you know your son is doing something wrong, you're supposed to correct the behavior. You're not supposed to
that's fair. That's
admonish them and be like, yeah, you're the problem. And that's why we're all stuck. It's like, no, you're the problem. I have a solution. And I think you need to follow me to get this up. Because like, yes, has the public been misled? Yeah, that's a given. But I'm sorry. I know I keep touching my microphone. I don't mean to. Anyway, has the public been misled? Yes, absolutely. But at the same time, it's like these are adults we're talking about who have to take some responsibility because at the end of the day, it is up to the citizenry. But what am I going to do? Just whine and pout about how bad the public is? I already know how bad the citizenry is. My job is to change it. And the best way to change it is just to inspire people to want to change. That's all. You have to show people that there's a reason to change.
But
yeah, I can be too cynical sometimes. You're right. That's a worthy aspiration. I agree.
Well, I think there's a counter to that where there's a lot of people who just don't have the resources to be able to change. Like when I was out campaigning door to door for Kennedy, I would knock on people's doors and then I'd say, Mr. Kennedy wants to know what are the most important issues to you. And they didn't know who Mr. Kennedy was. And they told me that they needed that hole in the road fixed.
Well, that's because the Kennedy family isn't very famous. I mean, who ever heard of the Kennedys?
Well, they're just like, can you just tell them that we need the hole fixed in this road? Or like literally that was on their minds. They don't necessarily have the time because they're working full time and the brain width to expand like think big like that.
And there's also rural people and then people in the city, right?
But the thing is like thinking is instantaneously. You don't have to like sit there and think for hours on how to think big. If somebody is telling you, hey, my lamppost is broken, or like, I don't know, just fix the pothole in the road, you're supposed to just be like, I mean, like, yeah, that's probably something that can be folded into a big infrastructure bill. You're supposed to be creative. Like, that's the thing. For those of us who say we are aware of what's happening in the world, it is not our job to submit when someone says, I don't have the time to think about that. You fight people, not literally physically, but like I was in 138th Street and Willis Avenue. Okay. I am in the poor of the poor place where I have been told, well, people care more about food stamps than they do about who they're going to vote for. First of all, I think that's a disgusting thought because people are not animals. They are not pigs who only care about what they're going to eat next. They are human beings. And you have to believe, and sometimes this is hard. It's been hard for me lately, just for a moment of transparency. But you have to believe that people are better than what they say they are. You know why? Because people are afraid of being great, and people are afraid to think more than they should. And when you show them that it's okay to do more than they think they can, that's when you uplift and inspire people. And so, Samantha, I would urge you, don't give up when someone says, well, I don't have the time. I have nothing. I came from nothing. You know, I started this campaign on a dingy webcam, and like, hey, at least I have an office now, you know? So, and this was like the poorest of the poor part of the entire country. And we were able to start a process that's not going anywhere. So things can be done. You
Right.
just can't.
Starting with an office, that can be a big deal. It's good to have a nerve center, a place where people can get together, collaborate, exchange ideas. That, and I assume that if it's such a poor district, the rent is probably inexpensive. So it's a very
Oh, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
Oh,
It's,
It's New York still.
It's still New York. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So what I'm gathering, I think then the approach should be rather in this case, if I want to empower people, I would do better to have like small town hall meetings. I would do better to try and set that up, because when people get together and they start talking to each other, they feed off of each other, and we can have more discussion rather than just an awkward door-to-door moment with one person.
Yes.
So
That's
people
because they
together.
see you as
Right.
one person, right? And the little group meeting, even if it's like 3 or 4 people, the point is that now it's a discussion, it's a dialogue.
Right.
Yeah.
But by the way, there's a third choice. You could also have meetings in people's homes. That's another thing.
That's right. That's
Very
exactly
easy
right.
to do. You don't have to worry about any costs or formalities or anything. You just get a bunch of neighbors together in somebody's living room.
That's exactly right. You.
I was talking to someone, actually someone Jose referred me to, and they told me, and I think Jose mentioned this, churches, which would be huge down here. That's a great way to connect with people. And then this is going to sound crazy, but I thought of this where I am feed stores for like farm animals. That is where, for whatever reason, everybody goes to hear all the gossip and everybody goes to talk, is the local feed store where you get your goat feed and your rabbit feed and your hay and all that. Yeah.
Whatever
like,
it
well,
is
maybe I'll
that
just go to a
people,
feed store.
whatever it is that's attractive to people.
And what
as
about
a
you
gathering spot.
teaming up with Somerville John to do something like that? Is he near you?
You know, I did that on MapQuest, but I forgot
I
what
think
the
he's
answer
in
was. He's
Charleston.
not real close. Yeah,
Charleston.
he's a few
Yeah,
miles from Charleston.
he's near Nancy Mace. He's in a different district. He's with Nancy Mace, which so far I haven't looked too deep into her. I don't have a problem with her yet. I don't think, until I haven't looked into her too much. I've looked into Joe Wilson a lot though, and he's a big problem. So we're gonna take care of him.
Yeah,
Right.
well, I would,
There's someone.
Samantha, you know, that person I referred you to, Morgan, you challenge her to do more with you. You know, she can be doing so much more. She's really good at what we are trying to do. You just invite her down. Like, seriously.
How far is Morgan from Sam?
Okay.
Do we know
Something
that?
like 2 hours or so.
Oh,
So
that's not
I
bad
did
at
that
all.
too. Yeah, I looked into that too, but I forgot all the results. I was.
but you know
playing
what?
around
Even
with
for that matter, invite Jeff to come out there. You know.
it. Oh,
Jeff, you're not
you'll
that
need
far
extra
from
security.
Samantha.
Dude, okay, so-
you'll need extra security.
And
to
I'll
keep
come
it
down
in
there
the
too.
fence.
I know
Come
I've
down
threatened to come
forever.
down.
Let's all go down. How about everybody except Ryan? Right?
Oh,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Ouch.
Sorry. Well, Ryan.
Ryan's having a medical procedure tomorrow, so let's all wish him the best for that.
You all have to come down. You have to come
Samantha
down
doesn't
in the
care.
summer. You have to come down in the summer to eat my pears.
All
Because
right.
I have Asian pears. I have a homestead. So y'all have to come down to my fruit tree homestead
some
and
pie.
eat all my pears and apples
All right.
and stuff.
Make some pie.
As long as there's no humidity in South Carolina in the summer.
These are fun
Are you
segments.
serious?
We get pears
All
out
right,
of
Sam, I don't know if you heard me. Ryan is undergoing a medical procedure tomorrow, so let's wish him the very best for that.
Oh, Ryan,
Not that
you'll be okay.
not that your
Everything's
pears aren't
gonna be
important.
fine.
All right, there we go. That's what I was looking for.
They're
Ryan.
not
Little
putting
love,
me
Ryan.
to
I'll
sleep,
sing you a
Samantha.
Russian lullaby later to make you go to sleep.
There you
There you
go.
All right, Jose, work on getting at least one of the doctors on either next week or the week after, and we'll amplify the message.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I will do that. And just like, if anybody wants to get in touch with me, by the way, you can reach out to me on my social media. My handle is right there.
Joe's
There's-
B. Trigger.
I also have an email, Jose Vega 3923 at yahoo.com. That's my personal email.
Yeah.
Oh, you could also
that's where all of his spam goes, actually. Isn't
actually,
that what
or
that
you
is?
could write to me at jose@votevega.nyc. That works too. That works too.
And next
Jose-
time, let's have it ready to go. We'll flash it on the screen so people don't have to
but
remember.
my Twitter handle, if you have X, my DMs are open. I'm always looking at my requests inbox. It's usually just spam these days, so please put something in there that's not spam and give me a reason to keep opening it. I agree. Get well soon, Ryan. Yeah, I guess that's all I got.
Jose is lonely. Jose is lonely, so please contact him.
And don't forget, if you want to catch me in person, Jan 15th in the Bronx, Scott Ritter is coming to the Boogie Down. If you want to know where, buy a ticket and somebody will reach out to you with how to get to where it is.
That's right.
It's a place with really good food and a great place to hang out. You're gonna enjoy it.
Now,
Yeah.
on
We're
that
keeping
note,
the
hold on a
location
second.
secret until you hold on a second. We're keeping the location secret until it gets closer, but we can say it's great Italian food in a very
You're feisty
in a
tonight.
Yeah,
very
I know he
comfortable
is.
environment, and there's easy parking. So, if
And
you
your
like
friend
this sort of thing-
Stephen Corcoran,
Yeah.
he wants
All
you
right,
to
now,
email.
what did you want to say, Ryan? That was so much more important than what I
That's
was
it. It's it. There are people that are
Wow.
messaging in on this show. They're saying, Jeff, you're not reading your emails, where they're saying, send me how to get there.
I will read your emails, josevega3923@yahoo.com.
I'm reading them, but we're not ready to reveal the location yet.
Okay,
It'll be
so there you
it'll
go,
be one
Stefan.
it'll be 1 or 2 days before the event is when we reveal it. Sorry,
right.
Stefan, I failed to reply to your email. That's the answer. 1 or 2 days before the event. Don't worry, you're the last person who should worry, Stefan. You're in the Bronx. It's not like you're traveling.
Oh.
Hey, no, yeah.
Yeah.
He's,
Hey, Stefan, reach out to me, man. Come, we're having an event tomorrow evening, just before the Scott Ritter show.
Are you doing the poetry? Are you doing Poe?
Yes, we
Are you
are.
doing Edgar
We
Poe?
are. Yeah. Samantha's a fan, a Poe fan. Oh, great.
Yep.
All right. Making a lot of
right,
connections
guys.
here. So join us tomorrow night and Ask the Inspector at 8 p.m. Eastern Time when Scott Ritter, our favorite weapons inspector, treats us to 2 glorious hours of world-class geopolitical analysis with audience questions being answered. And join us on the Winers next Thursday night at the usual time, 7 p.m. Eastern. Maybe we'll have one of the doctors on. Who knows?
Maybe.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jose and Ryan and Sam. And thanks also to Ramona Jan for joining us earlier. And thanks to our beloved audience. Take care, everybody.
Good night.
Au revoir.